Veteran journalist Phil Rothfeld caused quite a stir on the weekend when he tweeted on Friday night, "Rugby league is now a shit game." Now, he's since clarified it, probably because he had had a few beers on Friday night. But, Will, is that a fair tweet?
I don't think so. I think, I can see where, Buzz is an old school sort of bloke, and he's been through, obviously the 70s, 80s, 90s, and now into this new era. So he's seen everything come and go, and now I think everybody is not happy with the game and the product that's getting put out there simply because of the penalties. We're the only sort of game that is constantly talking about refs. I can't understand it. Like, why should the game always be talking about referees and their mistakes and everything like that, and coaches are coming at referees? And I think it's a sort of segue where they try and pretty much have a crack at Todd. Like, Todd is trying his best. I mean, for the game and for everything like that. And I don't think the game is shit at the moment.
Interestingly, Todd Greenberg actually replied in tweet, because that's the way the world works now with tweets. But he set up a hashtag saying #NRL talk it up, and his theory is he's sick of people talking the game down. He gave a lot of positive figures about it. Crowds are up, revenues up, all that. Now, is that unusual for a CEO to have to come out to reply to a tweet?
No, I don't think so, because do you want him to... This is the way the world works. The President of the United States, Trump, he connects with the whole world through Twitter. So why can't Todd Greenberg? I mean, with Buzz's tweet, I don't think that sort of comment, the game is shit, that's a pretty broad sort of, accusation. It's pretty pathetic coming from a well-respected journalist like that. So I don't think he was thinking that clearly. Maybe he had a couple of reds that night and he just thought, you know what, this game is shit.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Everyone can say whatever they want on Twitter. That's the whole meaning of this whole social media. But I had a meeting with Todd Greenberg on Friday, and we were talking about this exact same thing.
Before this tweet
came out. Yeah, I had coffee with him at Sydney Football Stadium, and we were just talking about the game in general. And he was throwing out all these numbers like he was on the weekend. And the game is in the best position it's ever been in the history of the game. So I don't really understand where Buzz is coming from. He's obviously coming from the optics of the game. He's just not liking what he sees. He's not liking the penalties. He's not liking this. He's not liking the sin bins and all this kind of stuff, which he's entitled to that kind of stuff. But with the media, they have these certain agendas all the time. You know what I mean? I think maybe they're struggling with print media not being as successful as it was, because I don't think it is, because of social media, because of Twitter, because of Instagram, because the players have a lot of power these days. We're not worried about what the Daily Telegraph or the Sun Herald are saying every single weekend. I used to wake up on a weekend, shit myself on a Sunday, wondering what the hell have I done on the weekend, because I had no power myself to even come out and say, look, this is bullshit. I didn't do this, this and this. Now I can say whatever I want, shut any of their stories down. And I think the print media is suffering a bit. You can go by all the stats and how many Telegraph papers are getting sold and all this sort of garbage. It's a dying breed. Do you
think that Rothfeld is a balanced journalist? I mean, he's been taking a huge amount of pot shots, especially this year. And we touched on it last week about the game and the penalties and things like that. But do you think he's a balanced journalist at the moment?
I think at the moment now, I think Buzz is probably at the end of his career. He's been around the game for so long, and he's starting to get a little bit bitter on things, where he should be promoting the game. He's in a position at the Telegraph where he should be promoting the game. All we seem to do, and all the Telegraph and all these sort of print papers seem to do, is be putting out bullshit stories and just bagging players and just want some sort of, just negativity all the time. Never talking the game up. Never talking the game about the numbers and how good the players are and everything like that. I don't think they realise what they're doing to the game. And I can see it from a viewer's standpoint, and even like journalists, players like myself, Andrew Johns come out, he was blowing up, all the current players, ex-players, they're not happy with the product that's getting put out there. But trust me, the meeting that I had with Todd, there's a plan in place. Yeah. And as long as the players conform the right way and they play the game properly and just don't give away these penalties, which are unnecessary, the game is going to flow so much better. And as a spectator, as a supporter, and even as players, the game is going to flow a lot better. And the product that you'll see will be 10 times better than what it is now. But it does take time to acclimate to all these rules because, as I said, we are creatures of habit. And we've been doing the same thing, as I said, but you might be a debutant this year, you could have 50 games, 100 games, 200 games, 300 games. You're all at different levels of where you are in your career. You know, and especially as middle players are the ones that are costing us, costing teams because they're not getting back that one step. And that's costing teams penalties on the fourth tackle. People don't understand who don't play the game. That can cost you a game because usually on that next set of 6 or the set of 6 after, they're going to score a try. And even so, even when there's a clean line break and usually the backs have been getting away with this, now they're not. So the backs would be running back as far as they think. They'll probably think in their head, oh, this is far enough. And then they'll get up and make that tackle. They haven't got back the 10 metres, so they're getting pinged now. Yep. So it's not just the middle blokes, it's when you make them sort of half breaks and the wingers and centres think they can just sort of dawdle back like they have been the last 20 years, they're getting done because the linesman's back there like that. So they're just ignoring the linesman, thinking they're only looking at the ref in the middle. The linesman's telling the ref straight away. He's three's offside, the 2's offside, and getting everybody. So it's the middle guys take accountability, and then they're getting the outside backs when they're making breaks. So people not understanding that go, why is that for? It's because they made a clean break, and just, you know, when the people go, they try and run back to get onside, they're not getting back onside. They're getting back about 8 metres. It's 10 metres. They're the rules. So they're just clamping down on little things that players have been getting away with for ages. So if we can just conform to these things and just listen and just be better, I don't know, just be more disciplined, the game is going to be a lot better.
In what no one really predicted before the start of the season, the Parramatta Eels have slumped to a 0-6 start, which is actually the worst start since Ian Thorpe was disqualified from the Olympic trials. Now, Will, they are not going well. There's rumours flying around. What can they do to fix their season?
Yeah, it's the start of the year that no one would have predicted. You know, Brad Arthur was up there with Coach of the Year last year. You know, Parramatta was pretty much touted as a top 4 team for this year. They've come out of the blocks. They've just been really disappointed. You know, I'm not going to point out fingers. I don't really want to blame individual players, but as a team, they're just not playing up to scratch. You know, you're paying these players a fair amount of cash, and what they're producing on the field is just subpar. You know what I mean? I feel for all their supporters because you put that jersey on, I know what you're expected to do. You're expected to win. It's like playing for the Bulldogs. It's like playing for them old sort of teams that, you know, like the Manleys and all that sort of stuff. You put that jersey on, you're expected to win. You're not expected to go 0-6 at the start of the year when everyone sort of touted you as a top 4 team. There's no hope they're going to make the 8.
Is finals over?
I think the finals are over. Everyone's saying, there is a little chance.
Mathematical chance.
Yeah, there's a mathematical chance, but come on, let's just be serious. There's teams out there that are just better than Parramatta. Like, even if Parramatta play their best football, they're not going to beat Melbourne. They're not going to beat St George. They're not going to beat the Warriors. They're not going to beat maybe 14 teams, you know? Like, even the Knights have got their number.
They're not going to beat an egg at the moment.
Oh, it's very disappointing. It's very disappointing just to watch a team like this to go through that rebuilding stage and then just come out and just play so poor. Like, I mean, I think there's a bit of a divide in. I've heard rumours from my sources. They're pretty solid sources as well. That you know, there's a bit of a divide in the locker room, including the coach.
Well, interestingly that you say that. There was rumours coming around today that Brad Arthur has that old cliche, lost the dressing room, which, given they're 6 games in and he was supposed to be coach of the year last year, sounds a little bit. I mean, I know you were displeased with the Manly warm-up and the fact that he seemingly flogged them before that Manly.
I said that. What was that, round 2?
I think so.
44 degrees, 45 degrees at Manly.
Yeah.
And the characters and the players that they've got in that team, you know, you've got your Bo Scott's probably one of the most mentally tough people in the comp. You got most of their forwards they're pretty tough, but they got some backs out there that aren't the most mentally strong people.
That's just
in the
backs,
comp.
isn't it?
That's pretty much backs. That's pretty much backs. But I mean, like, you go out there and you do a half-hour, 45-minute session before a game that's so hot, like you'll lose the locker room. I swear, you do something like that to any team. I've never heard of anything like that, and I've heard some rumblings from that game that they were off Brad Arthur straight away. And you can tell by their efforts because of their little 1%ers that they usually do good. They're not putting in like that, like they used to. And I heard that game pissed a lot of the senior players off, and a lot of the head guys like Hainsey and, you know, Jennings and all these sort of blokes. They're like, what are you doing this for? Yeah. That's a way. There's a surefire way to lose a locker room, and that's how to do it.
Well, there's also talk. There's been talk for a while actually about Corey Norman and Brad Arthur not seeing eye to eye. I think Corey Norman's quite a free spirit, and Brad Arthur's quite the disciplinarian. And there's also rumours now that Mitchell Moses and Corey Norman aren't getting on.
And when there are rumours, there's a little bit of truth to it. You know, like Corey Norman is a free spirit. Doesn't mind a beer. He's a bit old school, but you got to let these people. I love Wayne Bennett. He lets people be themselves. You know, like if it's 7 days out from a game and they have a beer on a Monday, who gives a shit? Let them have a beer as long as you can perform. But that's where they're wrong, because they're not performing. They're not performing. None of this would have even come into the papers or anything like that if they won on the weekend. But if you want to go out, you want to drink hard, you want to party hard, you got to play hard. That's them old school rules. If you want to be old school, play old school and act old school. Don't go out there and play like a fairy on the weekend, but you think you can have a beer and you think you can have a beer, you know, 6 or 7 days on a Monday. You know, you got to be accountable for your actions, and you know, some of them players aren't doing it. You know, it's just
there's that I was saying. Obviously, that winners have parties and losers have meetings. Yeah. I've never heard a rumour about a side that was going well where they're saying that, you know, this player's not getting on. So I think to some extent, losing creates these rumours that people want.
Like I've played in some teams where we're on the piss 3 times a week, but we used to smack the hell out of everyone, so no one said anything. You know, and that's the way it was, because it was that old school sort of mentality in the mid 2000s where, you know, we had a team that was pretty successful, and we loved hanging out with each other, we loved having a beer, we loved having a good time, but at the end of the day, we'd be the hardest trainers the next day, and we'd be the best players on the weekend. So that's the difference between 10 years ago and now. So I just think, you know, they have got some great players in their team, but they got some really good players out of form. And I just and when you hear little rumours about Corey Norman and Mitchell Moses arguing with the coach or not seeing eye to eye, that's your nucleus of the team. You're 7 and 6, not getting along with your coach. If that's got any truth to it, it's a long year for Parramatta, and you know their fans are going to be disappointed. I mean, like, they're getting booed off already, and you know it's very disappointing for it. You know, when Parramatta's going good, the NRL's going good. So when Souths are going good, the NRL's going good. So these clubs like this that are so successful, and they're playing well below par, all because of, you know, a couple of players here and there and a couple of little decisions. It's very disappointing. I mean, because, you know, Parramatta's a successful club, and the fans deserve something. And I think they were thinking this year that it was going to happen. And it's definitely not.
It's not. And if they keep losing, at least I can keep using the line, what's the matter, Parramatta? So I'm fine.
Well, a lot of people hate Parramatta. I'm probably one of them. I mean, I've got some good mates at Parramatta, but when the Bulldog, if you're a Bulldog and Parramatta, you just hate each other. So I don't hate the players. We just had a few good battles there. So look, I know they're having a tough year, but there's only one solution. He's over in Canada. It's Rennie Matua. You get that hired gun, you get him back, he'll make the top 8 for you. That's what he's like. Now get him down, get him over there now.
Come back and save him, Ren. The Commonwealth Games on the Gold Coast have come to a close. Ended with the worst closing ceremony probably in the history of the world. It's probably the worst ceremony since the opening ceremony. Now, Australia scored 198 medals, 80 of them gold, and it was absolutely appalling what they did to the athletes at the end of that ceremony.
It was a massive achievement for the Aussies, like, congratulations, but like, this is the only games, Olympic, Commonwealth or whatever, where the players haven't been paraded around and celebrated. Like, I don't understand. It was pathetic. I mean, they were the best athletes, and they were all the best athletes from the Commonwealth Games. That's what they look forward to. Yeah. I was speaking to some Commonwealth Games athletes that go, that's the best part of the games, is the end. You can relax, you can just, you know, all that energy for the last 3 or 4 years of training, you've won your gold medal, you've done everything like that. You want to celebrate with other countries, with all your teammates, get that adulation that you deserve. But no, you just, and Kurt Fernley, what a legend, he's a Newcastle boy, but he was supposed to be the flag bearer. He was just out there like by himself.
One of the best
stories of his life, and it just got left behind. And Paul, what's his name? Beattie?
Peter Beattie.
He's like, everyone's going, oh, congratulations. Oh, it was great that he was apologetic. Who gives a shit? It shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, that's the main thing of the games. Oh, you know, it was a big mistake. A big mistake. It's the biggest fuck up in Commonwealth Games history. Like, everybody who's seen it was just appalled. Like, it put a biggest blotch on the Commonwealth Games. I mean, like, it was a success. All our athletes were killing it. I'm so happy for them. I'm happy to be Australian. But, like, they needed to be paraded around last night and just had all the adulation they deserved. I just couldn't believe when I woke up this morning and what they did. Well, Kurt, sorry, we forgot.
What, you didn't watch it live? What?
Jeez.
I tell you what, Kurt Fernley showed his character by coming out today and saying, look, I'm upset it happened, but I don't want it to overshadow what has occurred, and also saying, as a disabled athlete, there are so many other things to worry about than this. And I think Kurt Fernley needs to be commended because
he's a class act.
He's a class act.
You know, he could have come out and been bitter. Obviously, inside he would have been bitter, but he's not going to come out there and just bag the hell out of the games because it's going to overshadow everything. But that should never happen. It should never, ever have happened. I mean, like, I don't know how many stuff-ups that Beattie dude needs. He didn't know who the Sharks were. Now he stuffs up on this thing, doesn't give the athletes all the adulation they need. I'm like, well, how's this guy even, like, in control of things?
I think one of the saddest things about that whole sight was looking at a half-empty stadium when the highlight of the games was clearly Usain Bolt coming up to do a DJ set with this weird-looking koala thing. I mean, the fact that they have prepared such an amazing event like this with Usain Bolt and the koala and that no athlete was there to see it, it's a tragedy.
I spoke to Olympic athletes, like Johnny Steff, really good mate of mine. He said the best part of any games is the closing ceremony, because I wasn't quite sure. I was like, what's the best part? He goes, like, after when it's all done. You've trained your ass off for so many years. You finally get to finish it. The party's on. Saying Bolt's there. He's DJing. Mad Koala's there, killing it. But, like, that's the number one thing they want to do. And he was worried about, I'm just concerned about the athletes and how tired they were.
That's a heap
Are you
crap.
serious? The athletes, all they want to do is just party after it's all done. That's it. That's a bullshit excuse. It's like, oh, yeah, I really feel for the athletes. They don't care. No. They've been doing it for 11 or 12 days, been going crazy. But most of them will finish after 3 days. Yeah. You know, it's not like they did an 11-day triathlon or a bloody crazy sort of, you know, it was just ridiculous.
And all the speeches and just the whole length of it, it was bureaucracy gone mad. It was the sign of bloated officials trying to make them the focus of the game.
And he admitted that as well. Yeah. It's all on him.
Well, he's claimed it now.
Don't talk.
I'll tell you what it was good for, the door charge at Sin City nightclub, because they all left the stadium and straight to the club.